Okay, we are recording. Good morning, everyone. Hey, Bruce.
Morning.
So this morning we're going to look at some related formats. I'm going to put some links to some records in our catalog in the chat, and then I'll share my screen just to show off a few things. Putting the links in the chat so that they'll make it into the comments on the YouTube video. There. Oh, good. We've got some more people joining. Okay, let me share my screen here. And I'll go over to our catalog. I hope everyone can see that. Great. So Bywater's been doing some work in our catalog to get the linking between related records working. And I'll put another link in the chat to the MARC formats for these fields, because a lot of people don't work quite often with related records. Many places do them in different ways. We do different formats on different records. For example, print on one record, online on another record, a title change, one title on one record, another title on another record. And this is mostly because we participate in OCLC. So we're following the OCLC and the Library of Congress standards, RDA, and doing them on separate records. A lot of places, though, find that for their users, it works better for them to keep formats on one record. And if that works best, that's great. Do that way. But what I'm going to show off today are the separate records. And what I've got here on the screen are two records, one for the print and one for the online version. And so if we go into one record, we'll see that this is the online version. We've got the links to the online versions of it here, and those will link out. And then our catalog is saying available in another form, print version, and the record number is hyperlinked to the other version. And so here's the book in our catalog. And if I've done all my MARC records correctly, it'll link back. Yes. And the way the MARC record looks is that the records are linking in this field, in the 001 field, with our OCLC numbers. And the way the linking field looks is right here. This is the 776 for available in another physical form, print version, and we are linking on the OCLC number because we're an OCLC library. You can have a local catalog number in that subfield W, whatever works best. Another related format that we've got working, and I have them up here, are title changes. And again, Bywater's still working on this. So you're gonna see, it looks a little weird. We've got other relationship duplicated here. That is not intended. That's a byproduct of the work being done right now. So they are working on having that not only not duplicated, but having those other relationships down the record where they're supposed to be with this continues and continued by. So this is a record that had a title change. It was the Register of Shipping 4. It continued the new Register Book of Shipping for the year. And if you wanted to go to that previous title, hopefully this works. Yes, it does. The new Register Book of Shipping for the year. And it changed its title to Register of Shipping 4. We can go back to that record through that link. And then it was continued by Lloyd's Register of British and Foreign Shipping. And hopefully it works. It does, yay! And again, one reason why we have it on that OCLC number is that identifier then works over in worldcat.org as well. And there are bugs related to this, to the getting the linking fields working. One of them is bug 17867, improved display of the source, MARC 21773 in the result list. There may be other bugs that people know about. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. And so let's open it up. Feel free to unmute, turn on your video. How are these related records, print, online, other formats, title changes, how are they working or not working for other people? Do people have questions, tips? I see Tomas has joined us. He's our actual developer who is interested today in hearing what do we want to see in Koha? What is working well? What could work better? Good morning, Tomas.
Good morning. I'm really excited to hear. I've been interested on this evolution of the MARC format, and I don't have access to EA specifications. So I wanted to hear from real librarians using it. I live in Latin America, and here people are starting to manually craft MARC records, adding the new fields, etc. And as a developer, it always felt like they are missing some point. Like the tool should be doing most of the heavy lifting they are doing. So I wanted to see how this should work with RDA, especially the linking between the work and the manifestation, and hearing real people using this, so we can have some clues on how to evolve, how to make the UI useful. So you don't need to do repetitive tasks that aren't really needed. Besides the fact that our display of that information is not perfect or far from perfect. Thank you for letting me.
Well, it's delightful to have you here and have you interested. One thing that you had mentioned in an email to me was how about something like if you're generating a new record, say I have the print record and I want to generate the online record, if I could have certain fields come over automatically created, that would be fantastic.
When I talk to the librarians I work with, one thing that arose immediately was the fact that linking should happen the same way we do with analytics. So doing that should be pretty trivial, but we still need to clarify the way we need to model the work and the manifestations in the database structure in Koha. But that's the thing we do very easily once we have the ideas. So I want to hear what do you think you would benefit from, and how can us developers access the specification of RDA? I assume by the tiny bits I saw from the person who was presenting that RDA basically uses the 700 fields for linking. So it will be a matter of adding more information on the database about those relationships, whether if they are vertical, horizontal, etc. But I'm sure you will need to start from one record and consider it the work, and then link the other ones as manifestations. That's where I'm lost at the moment.
Okay, well, you know, OCLC and Connection Client that I use has a macro that you can run on a record to generate an online record, which is very typical. It also has a very handy macro where when you want to generate the linking entry field, you can put in the record number of the related record and it generates all of that subfield A, subfield T, subfield D, pulling from the record. And that is really handy.
I see. So this might be a silly question, but
there are no silly questions.
If you have a MARC record for a printed book, and you want to add manifestation, would it work to generate a new MARC record that it's a replica, but in which you autofill some of the 300 fields that are required, and then have the 700 field automatically, considering the original one, the work? Is that how it should work?
Yeah, that would work really, really well. I can go ahead and share my screen and we can look at a record, and I could highlight those fields that are typically different between the print and the online. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Here we go. Get my browser up. So let us look, is this the, yeah, this is the print record. Let's go ahead and look at the online record. And let's open this up in the editor. In the 008, this character is added, 0 for online. I mean, letter O for online.
Letter O, yeah.
The call number in the Library of Congress call number system will be identical to the print version except for a little work letter added, this little typically A or AA, AB, AC.
Mm-hmm.
The 300 field will usually be one online resource with the information from the print version record subfield A now in parentheses with the pagination, and then the subfield B pulled. This is not correct punctuation here for RDA. I can go ahead and fix that. And then the subfield C information is dropped because we no longer have fixed measurements of height of an item since it's online. Mm-hmm. Then these three 3x fields are added for usually text, computer, and online resource.
Those should be filled by choosing options, right? You create a manifestation. You might just choose this is computer RDA media and representing the text.
Yes.
This is the kind of thing that looks like it should be filled automatically.
It would be wonderful to have it filled automatically based on the source record.
Right. And some options, yeah.
Yeah. One thing that this record lacks that it could have, it's not mandatory, is a 583 for system information. Not necessary. One thing that they typically get is this 588, which is the source of the description that just says print version record. Then the 776, linking entry field. Since the source was the print version record, it gets a subfield I to link to the source saying print version. And then this information is all pulled from the source record. Subfield I, or the subfield A is from the 100 subfield A. The subfield T is from the 245 subfield A. The subfield D is from the source record's 260 or 264 field, all put in the subfield D. This is from the 260 or 264 subfield A. This is from the subfield B, and this is from the subfield C. Then the record numbers are pulled from a DLC number is pulled from a source record's 010, and an OCLC number, in our case, is pulled from a source record's 001. And then, since this is an online record, it would be mandatory that it have at least one 856 field to link to the online resource.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Do you think we could have a list of fields that should come from the host record?
Yes.
The originating one? If we had such a list,
yeah,
we could do some mock-up or even we could try something.
I should be able to pull that from the OCLC macro pretty easily.
Okay.
Run it in my OCLC connection client and then do some sort of copy and paste. So yeah, I'll see if I can generate that.
Excellent. Cool.
And then, yeah.
The next step would be to group things on search results, but that's more difficult. But that's something we can, once people can catalog with ease, we can start thinking about that. That's my reasoning.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
The main problem is the hybrid catalogs we will have for people starting to use RDA more often, and how to make records coexist. Okay.
Yeah, because our records are a hybrid between the very, very old ISBD, AACR1, AA02, RDA, but adding the chief difference between the non-RDA and the RDA records are those 3x fields, and they're pretty easy. They would be pretty easy to add. I mean, easy being a relative term.
Yeah, no, they look like very easy. I can't imagine if you have a way to add a new analytical record, we could have something similar saying add a new manifestation that will pop up some form in which you choose the physical form, or if it's online, etc. And once you choose all those options, you have a clean record with those things set. You're happy.
Exactly.
Okay. Give me the information and I will try to do something about that. I'm excited as well.
Oh, wonderful. So am I.
Excellent. So one thing I like to mention, and it's a bit of criticism about RDA. As a developer, I guessed it relied on the already existing 700 fields for linking, but I found no information about that. It is not that easy to understand how things should work, because most systems implementing this are proprietary. This is problematic, and the access to the RDA toolkit is paywalled as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
If it is as easy as you say, we can certainly try something in the short term.
One thing that is free is the MARC 21 standard, and that's where the 77X linking entry fields are defined and described, as well as the 33X fields. And even though I do have access to RDA, I have to say it's not that easy to read and understand what it's trying to do.
Right. Okay. Excellent. I will try to provide some prototype so we can start talking about something concrete and something you can try. Okay. Just give me the list of fields that need to be mapped.
I definitely will. And what I might do is also share that with the Koha list to get the eyes of other catalogers onto it, to see what I've forgotten or misdescribed.
Of course.
Or yeah, because you know, I'm sharing mostly what I think is useful for my setting, and my library is a specialized maritime history library. So it's very difficult for me to have an eye for how things work best in other settings like public libraries, or libraries that are specialized in other areas. Like, for example, Fred's medical library, using a lot of records for articles, a whole different setting. And the relationships between analytic and host are probably much more important, I would think, for Fred in other settings. I see some people nodding.
Hi, Fred.
Hey, actually, my author's catalog is cobbled together with mostly with, it seemed like a good idea at the time, 6 years ago. So it would probably make you turn green and pale and then pass out under the floor, under your desk. So, in fact, I was just showing it to the new chair of the Department of Medicine, and I was updating it, and I thought, yeah, this needs a lot of updating and standards and stuff.
Quality control and record enhancement is something that we always do all the time.
And when you're sort of making it up as you go along, it gets worse.
Well, I think we're all kind of making it up as we go along.
Well, good. But as far as the actual medical library, yeah, we do have online and print books, usually on the same record. It's easier that way for me.
Yeah, and if that works best, that's great.
Well, we're such a small library that I'm the cataloging department.
Okay.
Well, does anybody else have anything they'd like to chime in about on related records, record relationships, displays?
Okay.
We don't have anything in regards to the related records because we're a public library and we generally are not doing that. But we've got some other things that we think would be helpful. And the first one is that, and of course, I know we probably catalog different from other libraries, but we get brief bib records from our vendor. And then when the item is received in the advanced editor, we overlay the bib with using a record from Z39.50. And the incoming record sometimes has tags in it that we really don't want, like other libraries, local 9XX tags or a 59X or whatever. And so we delete those out of the record. But if there were a way to prevent those from, be able to set it up that I never want these tags coming in, that would just be a time saver to, not have to deal with that on each record. So we'd be interested, if there were some way to set up, I don't know if it's a template or I don't know what it would be, but that's one idea.
That sounds familiar. I think I wrote a plugin, but that works for staged files. You can choose overlay options, but it's only for that.
In the meantime, you could use MARC Edit to take out all the 9XX files or fields that you want or don't want.
We could.
Well, give me a minute. I think we have that. We have a feature in Koha for tweaking incoming records using XSLTs when they come from ASRU. Is that correct? Don't we? Can I share the screen?
I think I remember seeing something like that.
Yes, please go ahead. I think you should be able to. Yeah, there we go, Tomas.
So this is a developer Koha. So you use servers. Say you pick here, this Library of Congress. Yeah, you can specify XLTs for transforming the results.
I had talked to Bywater about that. And I think what they told me was that was really more for authority records. And I do have a ticket open and they're looking at something. But that was the first thing I looked at. And then they said that, or at least there's some things already defined for authority records. I guess that's what it was.
Yeah. I provided some examples for deleting 952 fields when importing. So this is something you can actually have your own files and it should work. We should be able to give you a way to eliminate information from the incoming records. That's what is designed for. So
Okay.
yes.
Tomas, is there a place where we can see those like example XSLT statements or whatever?
It's in the code base. Let me show you again. Here. In the XLT, this is too small, right? These files.
Okay.
These files are sample files, and they basically delete information. This is for deleting the 9 subfield. Yeah. You can grab one of those and adapt it
Okay.
to your own needs.
I will definitely play with that. We have the same problem, Barbara. We have our catalogers spend an inordinate amount of time going through imported records and just getting rid of things they don't want in the record.
Right.
So if we can wipe those out at the point of import, that would save a lot of time.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, you should tell us. Absolutely.
And the other side of that is in our brief records, sometimes we do things that work for us locally. So we're using 2 fields that we never use, and we're putting some local acquisitions information in them. And so then when the cataloger goes in, they're seeing this information and it means something to them. But because we're overlaying the record, then we end up losing the data in those fields. So if there were some way that when you overlay, you could also say, don't overlay specific tags, that would also be helpful.
That's interesting. I'm looking for a link.
Yeah, this would be helpful for us because we have, for our special collections and rare books, a lot of particular information in 590 notes that we would always want preserved. And before I overlay a record, I spend a lot of time looking to be sure, copy, paste, if those could just be preserved. That would be really helpful. Thank you for the link in the chat.
And kind of going along with that, you know, looking through the record and trying to make sure everything's either there or correct or whatever. Sometimes I wish that there was a way that certain specific fields that, you know, maybe mean something to us, that I could have those display in a different color or have a background color in the advanced editor so that it would draw my eye to a specific place and help me, you know, delineate different parts of the record quicker.
Yeah. It looks like you know what you need. Those are very good ideas.
I've got more.
That one only gets 1 thumb up from me because I probably wouldn't use it, but I think it's a marvelous idea.
I would use it if I could do user-defined colors of particular MARC fields in the advanced editor. That would rock my world. I adore the red little spacers showing up. That is so super helpful. And that just made me want more user-defined color options. But Barbara, what are your other ideas? It's wonderful hearing these.
Okay, so I've got, so when we use Z39 to overlay a record, not when, I don't think this is a problem when you create a new record from Z39, but when we overlay a record, a lot of times the diacritics are just wonky, and we'll try it with the UTF-8. We'll try it with the MARC 8. Sometimes using one over the other will fix it, but sometimes neither setting will correct the diacritics. And so then we have to go and fix little diacritics, you know, and look for them to make sure we get them all. So if there were a way to, you know, kind of look at how that's working or why it's not working when you overlay a record, that would be really helpful.
I've found that I have to set up the interface for each Z3950, and once I've done that, diacriticals come through correctly. Have you had problems with things that don't?
So how do you mean for, like, we have a lot of different Z39 servers and we have the encoding set, but sometimes it just, no matter what you do, it doesn't fix the diacritic problem.
Sounds like it may be a problem in their catalog.
It could be, although I think the issue is we tried importing them as if I were creating a new record, and that worked just fine. So we didn't feel like it was a problem with the incoming, that there's something going on compared from if you create it new to if you were overlaying. And this is a ticket I had from a long, long time ago, but diacritics sometimes.
Yeah, the diacritics are one of the curses of my life.
Barbara, could you say which Z3950 libraries you get the majority of your records from?
We have luck with Seattle, and that's pretty good. We have used, I think it's Milwaukee, and the diacritics on that one don't come in correctly. Those are the two I can think of.
Be glad you don't have an international collection. I've got about half my Z3950 sources are overseas, and some of those get really screwy. And that's even before I get to the Cyrillic titles.
Another thing that I think is true is when you are using Z39 to overlay a bib record, it's using the default template. And correct me if I'm wrong, so I've had to make a few slight changes to the default template, which I know I'm not supposed to do, but they were important enough to me to go and do it for time saving or whatever. So if there were a way to have the Z39 have its own template, I guess, and not have to be the default, so that you didn't have to fool with perhaps messing up the default template, that would be good.
Oh, we're not hearing you, Tomas, so you might be muted.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay. When you say templates, are you talking about MARC frameworks?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I've actually changed our default framework a lot.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, I just am always very, very careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, my experience is one little character out of place can break the entire thing. So always keep a backup. But if modifying something makes it easier for you, go ahead. Just remember it's probably going to get wiped out in the next update, which is why the author's catalog with all the special fields is still on 17.5. And actually, I have no intention of changing it until I absolutely positively have to.
I also don't see why you couldn't have a special framework for your Z3950 versus your default.
I know I created one originally when we first came up and thought that I'd be, you know, using that, but apparently my understanding was that it went out and used the default anyway or something like that. And so, and that may not, I may be incorrect about that, but I'm glad to hear that someone else actually goes in and modifies their default, and now I don't feel so bad. And when you're in the advanced editor on a record, you're not creating a new record, and you've got the Z39 form over to the left-hand side. It'd be nice to have a clear search form button on it. If you're creating a new record from Z39, there is a button or link to clear out the form, but there isn't one if you're doing it where you're searching and then gonna overlay the record.
Would you like to share your screen so we take a look, or would you like me to open ours and take a look at that?
You can go ahead. I've never shared a screen before, so it might take me a minute to.
Okay, I'm happy to. Yeah, let me share I'll share my screen and let's take a look at what. Okay, let me open a record here and go into the advanced editor.
So they're on the left in the blue box, and you've got your different fields and your advanced. If there were a clear, and this is not a big deal, but I just did notice it. And I noticed it somewhere. Is that's the advanced search from that. Go to, if you create a Z39 from a new, if you're creating a new record from Z39.
Okay, let's go to cataloging and new from Z39.
So there at the bottom, there's a clear search form.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like it would be nice to have the same thing on the other way if you're creating it when you're in the record and you're going to overlay.
To have them match. Right, there's no clear search. Or there, yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess there is, and we're usually using it from just the box on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So if there were one there, that would be nice.
Yeah, yeah. When displays are consistent, it does speed up the work. Yeah, yeah. And in taking a look at creating new from Z39, I'm now wondering, yeah, it would be really nice if there were a way to select the framework. I'm wondering if that comes up. Let's take a look.
Actually, you can select the framework on the previous screen.
Oh, you can. I must have just missed it. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Let's
Back
go
up a bit.
Yeah. New from
There,
Z39.
instead of, no, you click the main search. If instead you pull down on that,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was about to ask because I've always been proud of that drop down.
Yeah. It also works on the new record field.
Yeah.
Nice. So I could just do that. Would that work from, okay. And then when I bring in something, let's just say I imported it, it would be in that framework. Very nice. So yeah, Barbara, go ahead, stop. You could set up a special Z3950 framework.
Okay.
And I have Milwaukee set up in my servers as a Z target too, and I was playing with that. It looks like the diacritics only get messed up if you overlay in the advanced editor. If I overlay in the basic editor, it keeps the diacritics the right way.
Yeah.
So it seems to be like an actual bug with the advanced editors Z39 import.
Yeah, that's what I recalled, that there was an issue between the two. Another difference between Z39 when you're creating a new record compared to overlaying a record is when you're setting up your Z39 servers, there's a place in there where you can put in a rank to put them in order. But when you're overlaying, if you're doing it that way, it ignores that order. And you see your list of Z39 servers just in the order that you created them in. So sometimes you can be looking around and it's not in an order you wanted, and it's not in alphabetical order. It's in an order from how they were added to the system. And so it'd be nice to be able to have that sort order actually work when you're overlaying, but it would also be nice if you had your list of Z39 servers and you had a sort button, like I want to sort my servers alphabetically, or I want to sort them by the date in which they were added, or something like that.
It makes perfect sense.
Or just sort according to your preference.
Sorting.
I would find that useful.
So
By rank could help me.
do these meetings end up with the bugs being filed for community? Because I see very interesting interactions and ideas, but do you have plans for filing bugs in the community Bugzilla? So maybe there is some traction on one of those ideas.
I know I've had a couple of tickets on some of them, and I think of fewer bugs, and I'd have to go back and see which ones, but the ones that aren't, I can enter.
Excellent.
And I'm putting in my questions so that it's in the chat.
Yeah, if these could turn into bugs in Bugzilla, that would be great. I was looking to see if there was an existing bug for diacritics being handled differently, whether a record was imported through the basic editor through Z3950 or the advanced editor to Z3950. And I saw a couple of bugs for UniMarc, but not for US Mark. I might have missed them.
And Stephanie did mention she sees the problem in the basic editor when overlaying as well. So that might not be the exact issue. But I was able to replicate the problem in the advanced editor. So
they all sound like easy fixes. That's why I asked. That's the kind of thing us developers don't notice. Right? We don't use it. We don't, but sometimes minor changes make your life easier. That's why I wanted to be here.
That's
Thank you.
terrific. Yeah, it's wonderful having you here, and it's so encouraging to hear that they're relatively easy fixes.
Absolutely.
I'd also like to encourage everybody who hasn't entered a bug into Bugzilla to do it, to try it, because the Bugzilla community is very, very friendly and helpful. And there's kind of really no wrong way to do it if you put in as much information as you can, describe it as much as you can, maybe even put links into your OPAC so people can see it. Then the people who know more in Bugzilla and are more experienced with it, and the developers, they will handle all the fields at the top for that you're not sure about, and that's one way to get the information in there for people. So does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up and talk about?
Yes. I'm having a big problem getting diacriticals to sort properly. I've seen somewhere in the back of my head, I remember a place where you can define the alphabet. And, you know, so E and E accent and E grave all sort equivalently. But I've got a lot of weird characters, and they're sorting at either the top or the bottom of the alphabet, which is less than constructive.
Are you using Zebra or Elasticsearch?
Zebra.
Okay. I haven't noticed that, but I'm going over to the manual to see if I can discover something.
I've been through all that and found nothing, and I got no response to a query on the list. So I figured, yeah, let's see if this group's got a sudden inspiration.
I'm not quite finding anything. I'm going to keep looking. One thing I have noticed with sorting, we're on 1911 with Elasticsearch, is that it's now sorting our Library of Congress call number cutters as if they were whole numbers. So, and the cutters are supposed to be decimal numbers. So
Yeah.
That's a little wonky, but that's a known issue. As far as I can tell, our diacritics are sorting correctly, but I have to admit I haven't looked that carefully.
I've got a lot of really strange ones. We got some Icelandic literature.
Would you like to share your screen and show us?
Let me see if I can. Hang on.
It may not be completely self-evident.
It will be if I can find it.
Well, you know, one thing that we have on our list of things to talk about in an upcoming meeting are non-English languages and diacritics and that sort of thing. So since we're approaching the top of the hour, we could go ahead and make this the topic for our next meeting and take a look more at diacritics.
Okay, I've got a few here. Let me see if I
Okay, great. I'm happy to stick around.
can.
Yeah, we're seeing your screen.
This is the authority records, and the first 5 there just aren't where they, anywhere near where they belong. For logic.
Right.
And as you can see, I've got some non-standard, even among these few. But if this is something to put off for next month, I can live that long.
Well, it's definitely worth looking at. So yeah, I'm really glad you brought this up, because yeah, that should not be sorting that way at all.
Yeah. All right, we'll put that on our list.
Definitely. And I'm making a note, diacritics for October. Well, before we go, I want to mention that the koha-US conference is coming up online. I hope everybody joins in. And we're going to have a half hour where I'm going to try my best to look at some cataloging bugs. I know some very basic skills, voting, commenting, and very, very, very simple testing. But please join in and look for bugs we can look at that time. And with that, oh, great. Thank you, Jason. Link to the conference info is in the chat. So I think right now I'll go ahead, we're at the top of the hour, and stop the recording.